What's up, guys? Jesse Wright with YouCouldBe.com, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to maximize your ROI. We're going to do this by showing you how I consistently charge between 20 and 30% more than the median rent per month for all of my rental properties. All right, rule number one, you guys have heard me say it before, but it's so important, so I'm gonna say it again. You always want to push the limits when you're putting your property up, when you're posting it to Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or Zillow or wherever you choose to post it. You're always gonna wanna push the limits and charge more, at least list it for more than you're expecting to receive. When you first list the property for the very first time, right after you've done your initial rehab, you want to know what kind of potential you have. And it's a lot easier to come down off of your price than it is to go up from your starting point. If you guys watched my last video, then you know that the median rent in the area where I purchased my last property was $700 a month. I originally listed it for $1,000, actually $995, and then I worked my way down in $50 increments until I rented it out for a total of $895 a month. And I would have never done that if I just paid attention to the median rent. There's a guy that is still trying to rent his property out up the street from me, on the same street, 3-bedroom house just like mine, and he's only going for $645 a month, but I was able to rent mine out for $895 a month. So that should tell you something about the remainder of what I'm about to say. All right, rule number two is make those cosmetic repairs. I'm not talking about putting granite countertops in your house. I'm just saying make the house look nicer than all of the houses around it. Now, that's hard to do when you're investing in a luxury kind of neighborhood, but it's not hard to do when you're investing in the lower income areas that I invest in. It doesn't take much for me to stand out above the rest of the properties that are on the market, because most of the properties on the market in my area are owned by, more slumlord kind of people. Not all of them, but most of them. And so it's just really easy for me to stay ahead of the competition that way. So, in my case with the last house, it was just making sure everything was painted, clean, and then I sanded and refinished the floors. And I will tell you that I think the two most motivating factors that come into play when people are coming in and looking at my house, it's not the size of the house, it's not the size of the backyard, it is what the floors look like and what the walls look like. Not only that, but when you consider the fact that those cosmetic repairs cost me about $1,000, it cost me $700 to refinish the floors and less than $300 to handle all of the interior paint. That was $1,000, and because I did those two things, I'm earning an extra $2,400 a year on my property. It really doesn't make any sense to me how a lot of these people they'll buy these properties and they'll try to do the bare minimum, and then they'll sit vacant for months at a time, and when they do finally get rented out, they're not able to get a lot of money for them. So to me, it's a no-brainer to go ahead and keep your properties up. It will pay for itself over and over again. It's going to give you a better return than when you bought the property in the first place. I mean, $1,000 up front, and I'm making an extra $2,400 a year. You do the math. All right, number three is use for rent signs. I don't use for rent signs in all of my properties. As a matter of fact, the last property that I was just talking about a minute ago, I did not put a sign in the yard that said for rent. And that is because it's in one of those areas that I was a little bit worried that the house might get broken into if people knew it was vacant. When I left the property empty, I would actually leave a vehicle in the driveway, and I'd leave on some lights to make it look like somebody was living there. So you can't always use for rent signs, but I've had properties that I didn't do any type of marketing whatsoever other than sticking a sign in the yard, and I was getting 80 plus calls a day off of these for rent signs. Don't underestimate the power of for rent signs. All right, rule number four is when you're posting your ad, you need to think about the very first thing that your potential customer is going to see. You're going to want to do something to grab your audience's attention. I'm not talking about grabbing everybody's attention. I'm talking about grabbing the attention of the person that you want renting your house. So when I'm posting an ad on Craigslist, the first two words is almost always HUD welcome, because I'm looking for a Section 8 tenant. I think I have a better chance of getting my money quickly without hassle if I have a Section 8 tenant. So that's why I focus on those particular tenants. Now, It doesn't always work out that way, and I'm more than happy to rent my property to anybody that has the income for it. The last tenant that signed a lease with me was an all-cash customer. That's fine, but I am shooting for a certain type of tenant, and I'm going to cater my ads towards that particular type of tenant. So with Craigslist, it's going to be in the headline. It's also going to be one of the first things they see when they open up the ad. And with Facebook Marketplace, it's usually going to be the very first line in the ad. And that's because when they click on my house on their phone, it's going to bring up a little preview. They're not going to be able to see the whole thing. They're going to see the first line of the description, and then they're going to see a little read more button. So you know what that first line is going to say? On my ads, it's going to say HUD welcome, and then they'll see read more, ... All right, rule number 5, there is such a thing as too much info. So when you're telling people about your house, or when people are looking at pictures of your house and they're deciding if they even want to come look at it, what they're going to do is they're going to take all the info that you give them and they're going to average it out. For instance, pictures. You might think that you should post 30 pictures of your property, every single facet of your house. You want them to see it. But the truth is, they're going to take all the awesome pictures, all the mediocre pictures, and all the terrible pictures, and they're going to kind of, in their mind, mesh those things together and average it out. So it's best to just show the best pictures. You don't even want to show the mediocre pictures. If that means you can only put 3 pictures in your ad, then just put 3 pictures in your ad, because it is going to increase your conversion rate. It's going to increase the number of people that want to come look at your property. All right, number 6 is to make sure to renew your ad. Now, on Craigslist, I think you can renew your ad every other day. I've really seen a sharp decline in the performance of Craigslist for rental properties, but that's neither here nor there. I think it depends on the area that you're in, but on Craigslist, it is every other day. And then Facebook Marketplace right now will allow you to renew your listing every 7 days. So make sure to take advantage of that, because every time you hit that renew button, it's going to bump your listing up back to the top of the search results. All right, number 7 might seem kind of obvious, but I just cannot believe how many ads I see where the main picture is the front of the house and the yard hasn't been cut in 6 months. And that is something that is going to get people to pass over your ad instantaneously. They might not even remember seeing it if you have grass that's 2 foot high in your main picture or in any picture. Just go ahead and bite the bullet, either mow the lawn yourself or pay somebody $50 or $100 to go out there and do it for you, and you're going to get somebody in there a lot quicker. Number 8 is you want to create open house urgency. So what I mean by that is when I let somebody come and look at my house, I typically try to schedule 5 to 10 people all at once, because I want to create that urgency where they realize that if they don't sign a lease today, right now, as soon as possible, then it's very likely that one of the other 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people that are there looking at the house will sign a lease and they'll miss out. And so it creates a huge sense of urgency, and it helps me rent my property out very quickly. I've had people get into screaming matches in my front yard because they were there first and they wanted to sign that lease. And lastly, number 9, reframe everything as a positive. I'll give you an example. I try to stay away from central heat and air as much as possible because I don't want people stealing my outside condenser unit, and it's pretty easy to do even if you have a cage over top of that condenser unit. It's very common in Jackson, Mississippi, where I invest. So what I try to do is I try to put window units in, or I'll even put those portable units in that they just kind of vent out of the window, but they're not actually sticking out of the window. And then I'll put wall-mounted gas heaters on the walls, to take care of the heating. And what I let people know is this is going to help them save a lot of money on their utilities. The house is going to get just as cold as they want it to. It's going to get just as warm as they want it to. And they'll even have more control over how warm or cold each area of the house is. But by doing that, they can dramatically decrease their utilities cost each and every month. And so when they come to me and they say, it doesn't have central heat and air, I explain that to them. And oftentimes that really helps push them over the edge and gets them to go ahead and sign a lease. All right, guys, that's all for this video. If you found it helpful, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Be sure to hit that little notification bell so that you know when I'm posting a video. And also, join the Rental Property Investors group on Facebook. I post all kinds of stuff in that group that I do not talk about on YouTube. It gives you access to me. We can talk. You can post questions. I can write answers. And it's a growing community. Right now, it's still less than 100 people in that group. So everything that you post in there is going to have my undivided attention, but it will grow. And I hope that you guys can be on the ground floor of that Facebook group. So that's all I got for you in this video. I will see you in the next one.